I hate Christmas.
It's cramping time.
Ah!
Yup.
Ah!
Time to die, random lady number one.
No! My co-star! I love Christmas now! Bring them back!
Snow globe climb.
A recording studio? It's Christmas again!
Snow globe.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Pod Killer's very special Christmas episode. It's not really special, but it's Christmas themed. Today, we are going to be reviewing Krampus. When was it made?
2015.
We're reviewing the 2015 Krampus.
Isn't that the only Krampus?
No.
No.
There's other Krampuses.
Oh.
I think they're named different. I think this is the only one that's actually just
Named
Krampus.
Krampus.
But we're being specific today.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Krampus is a PG-13 horror fantasy movie that was released December 4th, 2015.
Right in time for Christmas.
Right in time for Krampus. Krampmas.
Krampmas. It occurs the 5th of December every year.
It does. So for the ratings, IMDb gave this a 6.2 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 66%, and it had an audience rating of 52%, saying that this movie was incredibly mid.
Dog doo.
No, it's a great movie. I love this movie, and I watch it every year.
Your point later. Clown.
So as for the production of this movie, it was produced by Thomas Toll, John Joshny, that's a weird name, Alex Garcia, and Michael Dougherty. It was directed by Michael Dougherty as well, and it was starring Adam Scott, Tony Colletti, David Koechner, Allison Tolman, Conchata Farrell, MJ Anthony, Stephanie LaVie Owen, and Krista Stadler.
Man,
So,
those are some names.
those are some big movie names. A lot of comedians in there, as this was written as a comedy horror movie. The score was made by Douglas Pipes and released as a double LP, so they also made money off of the music from this movie, to which I couldn't tell you a single time I even remember hearing.
All I remember is hearing like bells.
Yeah.
That's about it.
And during like the storm, that was about
Ooh,
it.
yeah, the
Yeah,
storm had
oh.
music.
True.
Other than that, it was like bells, Christmas
Yum.
things.
This movie was finished and set to release November 25th, but they did push it back, so it was released around Krampusnacht, when Krampus comes and takes the bad kids away,
Yeah.
which is December 5th, like Josiah said.
Oh, I was just guessing, dude.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
So instead of releasing this movie, they went to Legend Comics, and they had them release Krampus, Shadow of St. Nicholas,
Krampus.
which is all canon to the movie, but it's comic books, and it takes place, I think, before the movie.
That makes sense.
Spirit Halloween also released a life-size animatronic of Krampus, which is actually really cool.
Yeah.
And I love when I see him every year at the exact same house. Because only one person could afford the Spirit Halloween
Here?
Krampus statue.
I don't even know where that's at.
And then Krampus was also nominated for Best Horror Movie of the Year for both the Empire Awards and Saturn Awards.
Did it win though?
Nope.
Blasphemy.
It was
That's
only
why- that's why it
nominated.
says
That's why I said nominated.
Great movie.
So are you ready to dig into the synopsis of this movie?
Sure.
That's one for the Mets, baby. All right. So we open with a really fun scene, actually, where it's Black Friday, and they're just straight killing the Mucho Mart employees.
Well, it started off like calm and people were running, and then people slowly started to get knocked down.
Yeah.
The store employees were fighting. Customers were fighting.
I guess, they had a musical score during this. It was just like a nice, like, surreal music.
Yeah.
And everyone was going for that TV, I guess. Old people being thrown while they battle for a blender.
Blender.
I said Black Friday in Chicago. Don't quote me on that.
Don't quote me. Dox this man. Ruin his career. So yeah, we see, like she said, we see like old people fighting. Kids are fighting dressed as figures, like of the birth of Jesus. Which is kind of funny to just watch Joseph beat Mary with a stick.
But that was specifically the main character. Was fighting.
Yes.
And it was an adult.
No, it was another kid, because the kid told him Santa Claus wasn't real, so he went and punched him in the face.
And then he started fighting the adult when the adult stepped in.
Yes, and then we see him take one of the kids home, which is Max, our main character, and we would see his grandma, who is watching A Christmas Carol, and she's just baking cookies.
She is just baking cookies.
She also does not speak English.
No, she does.
Until the very end.
She just speaks, she's primarily German.
Yes. But I think it's so funny because off screen, which they showed us him like punching him, but off screen he drop kicked a kid. Which is so funny. So Max wants to continue the tradition of everybody sitting down and watching Charlie Brown, but he is neglected by his parents, and his grandma is the only one who steps in to do anything with him.
Mm-hmm.
And the mom and the daughter will be arguing about allowing the cousins back over because, and I quote, "There is human caca in my bed, Mom." The cousins, these cousins aren't like weird cousins either. They're just country bumpkin cousins.
They're tomboys.
They're tomboys.
That's literally their entire personality.
And they pull an Amber Heard.
Yeah.
And poop on their bed.
I like to think that they're like the American Hasbergs. They're just like so inbred. And they're just like so incredibly stupid.
I think that's the point.
Yeah.
So the kid, being neglected by everybody but his grandma, obviously talks to her. And he asks if she believes in Santa. To which the grandma would allude to believing in a different Christmas spirit, but never really outright says what she believes in. Later that night, the daughter will be talking to her boyfriend, who will try to entice her to come and smoke some
of that
Christmas spirit.
Yeah, some of that doobie-doo.
Some of that doobie-doo.
Jazz cabbage, if you may.
Yes, and the cousins would arrive, literally shaking the entire house.
Yeah.
They're still outside, which means they have to be shaking the foundation of the house.
In their Humvee, by the way.
In their Humvee.
Their Humvee where they, did they have a camper too?
No.
Did they not?
No,
I'm thinking of a different movie.
You are.
Yeah.
But, so as this house is shaking, everybody's freaking out except the dad, who just starts pouring a bunch of scotch into his coffee cup.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah, I said alcohol in the coffee mug. I'm like, God damn, this dude's hard.
That's so awesome.
Don't say that.
And then there's very obviously a strong disconnect between the two parts of the family, as they just don't really believe in anything.
They're trying to be friendly, but they hate each other.
They're trying to be friendly, but they absolutely hate each other, because that's just what they think Christmas is supposed to be. And one of the, older aunts, the Grant, if you will, grand aunt.
It is the Grant.
Would come in looking for the Nog.
Which, she was not invited to their house even.
No.
Because it's his mom's part of the family, and her sister brought their Grant, and she was not happy about that. She was very angry.
Very angry. And obviously, you have all these cousins shaking the foundation. Through all this foundation shaking, they forget to grab the baby.
Yes.
It is it is below zero at this time. And they just have a baby sitting in a non-running truck for probably 5 straight minutes.
It was a long time.
And the dad would leave, and the mom would be stuck there to talk to the Grant, talk to her sister about the Grant, and the sister would be like, "It's a fun surprise," and she would just look at her and drop the coldest line of the entire movie, saying, "Hemorrhoids are a surprise." And that's it. That's her entire line, just, "Hemorrhoids are a surprise. This, not a surprise."
No correlation at all.
And so later on, the family's eating dinner as the uncle just completely insults the father for not being manly enough and making fun of him for being in Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the aunts calls the mother a Jew.
Dude, she makes the worst creme brulee ever. I don't blame the aunt. That was horrible.
Wait, they didn't even eat the creme brulee.
No, they didn't. She just made the creme brulee, got insulted, and then went off and cried like a...
She didn't go and cry.
Yes, she did.
She was pissed. Because they were like, "We don't want this fancy food. If I can't say its name, I don't want to eat it." But she made a nice dinner, and they were all dissing on it. Just because they're hicks.
Yes. And, obviously the cousins, they're messing around with the kid, telling him Santa crashed and had to eat all his reindeer to survive. And they would begin reading Max's letter to Santa aloud at the table for everyone to hear, completely embarrassing him. And then everything would just erupt into chaos.
Well, it wasn't just embarrassing him.
It was embarrassing
He asked
his
for his
family.
parents to love each other again. And he wanted the hick side of the family to do well.
Because they're poor.
He said that he feels bad and wished that the girls were boys. And that's when things got
Violent.
angry.
Yo.
And pretty much all of the children just beating into each other, and they have to be pulled apart by the adults. And Max would exclaim that he hates everybody and runs to his room. The dad would go up there trying to smooth out the situation, but wouldn't really be able to, tell him why Christmas exists.
It was basically putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
Band-Aids don't fix bullet holes, as we know.
Fix bullet holes.
And Max would eventually just crumple and tear up his letter to Santa, throwing it out the window, and it would be swooped into the moon as a snowstorm begins slamming down.
This is my first criticism. Even with, godly magic, there's no way that letter went up that far.
Maybe Krampus just lives on the moon.
I don't think Krampus lives on
He's got some great lungs, let me tell you that.
I don't think he does.
He can do leaps and bounds, he can sprint across everywhere, he can just suck up that letter when it comes up.
And his mouth is always open. Maybe he was just breathing.
Yeah,
Maybe he was just...
Bro was just trying to get all the air he could.
So yeah, the snowstorm begins and the whole town's power would go out. And the next day, there would be a snowman outside, and the characters are unable to see even across the street.
I also don't think that there would have been that much snow that fast.
Well, it's supposed to be because...
I know, but the power... And also, the power went out that night, and they didn't seem to care until the next morning.
Yeah.
You're telling me they fell asleep and didn't notice that the power went out?
You're talking to two-time champion. They probably sleep through, entire tornadoes.
Not the other family, though.
Oh, yeah.
The normal side of the family? You're telling me that they didn't notice that the power was out sooner?
They're probably too drunk, except for the kid. The kid might have.
Well, the mom wasn't drunk.
She might have had I'm not saying it didn't happen on screen, but it could have happened.
I don't think it did happen, though, and I think it's dumb that the power went out. It was still day when the power went out. It was not dark. It was
True.
still day. They ate dinner. They ate old people dinner. They ate at 5. There's no way, because it wasn't dark at all. And it would have been dark. I'm just saying, they didn't care about the power until the next day, and that's weird.
Well, because they weren't cold till the next day.
But still, I'd be freaking out if my power went out during the winter.
And so, by the way, this whole movie takes place across a week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of just cool to see
I
the
thought it was 3 days.
little advent calendar. 3 days is like a week, alright.
No, it's 4. Because it starts off and then they open 3 doors.
Yeah.
Oh,
So goes throughout like 4 days.
4 days. Okay.
4 or 5
And
days.
so each day they open a new thing of the advent calendar.
Yep. Which I just like that that's how they frame the movie.
It was a fun way to do it.
It's very nice. And I like how the uncle's hungry because it's the next day, you're going to be hungry, and he asks what there is, and the mom says, there's leftovers in the fridge, and he just says, beer it is then, and goes and just starts drinking beer.
What does he have against leftovers, bro?
I mean, they don't like the food.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. Maybe they should have stopped at a Mickey D's beforehand.
Right?
But then they realized that, oh no, the person who went out, who was her name?
She didn't leave yet.
I thought she left. No, she left before the storm
She leaves
happened.
this day.
No, she left this day.
Oh, okay.
It was shortly after this that the daughter comes down and she's freaking out because her boyfriend won't answer her. It's the end of the world. She wants to go and check on him. But it is currently blizzarding outside.
Mm.
So the mom's like, no, you're not going over there. And then the dad's like, she'll be fine. Go ahead. And she basically puts on a hat and leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Which she should get frostbite, but she doesn't.
Yeah, I know. She's out there longer than anybody else, and everybody else complaining that they almost have frostbite after 5 minutes, and she's just out there for probably
She's the
She was probably out there for like
half an hour. Yeah. So while she's out there, she would just see this monstrous figure leaping from house to house, and it would begin chasing her, and she does the horror movie trope of hiding under the van.
Oh no! Oh, we skipped something. So, just before this happens, the mailman comes to their house. A mailman through a blizzard somehow gets to their house and delivers a bunch of packages. Weird packages because they didn't.
One of them is like a gift basket, and then the other one is a red bag full of presents.
Yep.
And the Hicks opened this, and they're like, "Oh, rich people things, whatever." But did the normal part of the family not realize? Well, why do we have a bag full of presents?
No.
And no one opened them?
Nobody
They
questions
just
it.
put them next to the tree and called it good enough?
This will be important later.
This is important later.
Anyways, so then we just see the mailman leave. We see her go up, and then she, like, while running away, hides under the mailman's truck because she goes up to the window and see he is frozen. He is dead. He is like
Yeah.
completely-
Petrified.
Yes, like a caveman, you know. And so she hides under the truck.
Yep. And as she's hiding under it, she watches Krampus walk around the truck, like, obviously he knows she's there.
Like, it's snowing.
Yeah.
The snow prints are gonna be there. Honey, she knows you're under the truck.
Yeah, and he just
knows.
kind of drops a Jack-in-the-Box and leaves. And this Jack-in-the-Box just begins ticking by itself, and it would jump out and attack her.
It's this little doll girl.
Yep, and as it attacks her, we cut straight to Max looking out the window, and there would be a second snowman. And the parents will also be sitting by, like, a different window, just talking and relaxing, really, like, bonding together for the first time in a while. And Max would go down there and remind them that they have a daughter.
And that there's random snowmen. Who made this snowman? And the dad was like, it's snowing now. Why wouldn't you make a snowman?
Yeah.
He's very not worried about any of this.
Yeah, so the parents would go and ask to borrow the uncle's Hummer, and the grandma would warn everybody that it is too dangerous to go outside, but nobody listens. And there's another great line here, where the uncle goes, "Global warming my ass," because he looks outside and sees it snowing. And this was made in 2015. It's not snowing this Christmas.
It hasn't been.
It hasn't snowed, like, for the past 3 Christmases.
No.
So I think he started something.
Also, I would like to say that every single time they open the door, there's no resistance on that door.
Mm-mm.
It is so windy out. You can hear it. You can see it in the snow. You can see it in the trees. But not once is that door affected.
Nope.
And I think that is BS.
It
Because
is.
that door should have had at least a little resistance.
So as they're out, they find an abandoned snowplow, and while investigating it, they would find more presents. They'd also see that the glass was punched in rather than broken out. And at this point, the uncle and the dad, which were the two that went out, decided that they should probably grab a shotgun. And at the house, the mom and aunt are sitting there reminiscing as their Christmas as a kid, and everyone would hear something running on the roof. And they write it off as squirrels.
Yep, just squirrels.
This isn't like a light tippy tappy. This isn't nothing.
This is like a
It's probably louder than that. It's like hooves on the roof.
But
It
they're
is
just
shaking
squirrels.
their house.
I don't know if they had an army of squirrels on their roof or something, but apparently that's what the mother thought.
And then there's just a loud thud from the squirrels, and the baby starts crying. The grandma would look up the chimney, and the uncle and dad would find the boyfriend's house, and it's just completely abandoned.
It's
It was
frozen
broken into nothing's there. It's all
It's
wrecked.
ransacked. It's torn down. It looks like it looks like an abandoned house in Detroit. Like, that's how bad this house looks. And it was perfectly fine the day before. So they would investigate to find just this ginormous crack in the wall, thinking a gas line blew and killed everybody. They would also find a huge bipedal
Well,
hoof track.
it wasn't just a crack in the wall. It was a crack in the chimney.
True. And then they would see bipedal hoof tracks.
Massive.
Just massive. And they're just like, oh yeah, deer just stand up and walk.
Well, the uncle, the hick uncle was like, I've seen tracks. That's a deer track. We're fine. And then the dad's like, deer don't just walk on two legs, though. And then they never said anything else about it.
Yeah. And so they would hear Beth screaming, which is the daughter, and they go running to save her. The uncle would be caught by something in the snow while running, though, and he'd just start being tossed and dragged around.
It's like underneath the snow, like a little black hole thing.
Mm-hmm. And the dad would choose to save him over the daughter, shooting at the snow to scare off whatever was attacking the uncle.
Yeah.
The two would then find the uncle's truck completely lit on fire,
Yeah.
Crushed.
and the two would burst into the house, desperately trying to give the uncle first aid,
As his entire leg was bleeding.
as his entire leg is just gushing
It looked like he
blood.
was bit by like a bear or something.
Yes.
And then they write it off as a bear trap in the middle of the street.
In the under
And somehow a gun fixed the bear trap.
Yes.
Yep. But they knew that something bad was happening and they didn't want the kids to know.
Yeah.
So they tried to not tell the kids that Beth was probably dead.
Yeah.
And the uncle was gravely injured.
Yes. And the grandma would just tell the dad to keep the fire hot before helping with the kids. And everyone would begin boarding up the windows for that night.
Mm-hmm.
And the uncle, dropping another zinger, looks to the dad as he's bleeding out of his leg and would just say, I just want to say I'm sorry for thinking you're a spineless dick all these years.
The best character, best lines. in the movie.
Showing that they are bonding.
Bonding over almost dying.
Bonding over almost dying.
Should we
Welcome back to our New Year's special,
not Christmas.
recorded on January 6th.
The 5th.
It's the 5th, where we are talking about Krampus,
Our favorite New Year movie.
our favorite January 5th movie.
Yes, cramping time.
Actually, when is this even coming out?
Probably next week.
It's our favorite January
This is
movie.
Merry Christmas to you. Even
And-
though it's like
And a Happy New Year.
3
and a
weeks
Happy
late.
Hanukkah.
And Martin Luther King's birthday.
And
that's 2 weeks.
Kwanzaa.
And Ramadan, which is in
And-
April.
No, it's
I
not.
thought it was in April.
It's in September.
It's in September. Anyway, where we left off, the dad would tell Max that Grandma always got a little weird around Christmas, but wouldn't really say why she got weird. And the uncle would take the first watch for the night, which would go swimmingly as he falls asleep. The fire would obviously go out, and this would allow Krampus to come in. The tablet, which is playing Christmas music, would die for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
It's silent now.
And a hook would just slide down the chimney. And Justin Roiland and the gingerbread trio would come into the house. And of course, Josiah's spirit animal, the little fat ginger kid.
Oh my god, dude. I love that character. Dude, that scene is so good. He grabs the thing, he takes a bite out of his arm, and then this thing comes to life, and he's like, what are you trying to bite me off for? And it spins around him and
It's a cookie.
gets him in a
It's a
shape.
living
Yes.
cookie.
Yes, it's a living
Gingy.
gingerbread cookie.
Gingy and the Gingerettes.
Nondescript gingerbread creature.
Ginger versus ginger.
Yeah.
And he wraps the hook around the
Yeah,
fat
he
kid.
wraps the hook around him and just yoinks him up.
Well, no, he screams first, alerting
And then-
the whole family.
Yeah, so he does scream alerting everybody, but...
And the fat kid's mom and dad try to pull him back, but Krampus is getting that kid.
Yeah.
And they end up to a point where everyone's holding on in this chain going up the chimney.
Yep.
And then the first person lets go and the fat kid is taken.
Goodbye, Howie.
Which is our second family kill.
Oh, also...
Actually, it's 4. I kept a kill count.
Oh.
No, I'm not. I'm saying family.
Oh, okay.
Like the family members.
Yes,
I'm not talking about the postman.
Yeah, Mr. Postman. Alright, but then Krampus is just so nice to reignite the fire for the family by throwing a flaming log at them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And Grandma's just sitting there praying to Jesus, man.
She's gone. She knows it. What's going on?
And they would just hear the gingerbread men like celebrating their kill and running away with the kiddo.
Who is no longer screaming.
Who is no longer screaming.
He's just kind of accepting.
He is in fact dead. The uncle would rightfully blame himself for falling asleep as the grandma restarted the fire. The grandma would say it's everybody's fault, and he will now come for them all. And the grandma would then tell them the story of when she was a kid in a beautiful claymation flashback.
It is literally my favorite part of them.
And the story was called When Krampus Left His Balls.
Snow globe.
The snow globe.
I love claymation, and it was done very well.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the decorations, because it was like olden wherever she was from.
Yeah. So in this flashback, everybody would begin fighting over scraps, forgetting the love and the spirit of Christmas, and eventually, even though the grandma was the last person to believe in Christmas apparently, even she would give up on Christmas, wishing for her family to go away. This would summon Krampus, a more darker and ancient spirit, to kill her family. Sadly, Krampus did not take the grandma that night, but left her as a reminder for everybody. The uncle obviously wouldn't believe this story and would begin getting angry at everybody. The dad would try stopping him, causing the uncle to literally point a gun at him and try to shoot him. Just pretty much falling back on the bonding they just went through. And the uncle would go outside, seeing multiple snowmen, and one that resembled his son. There would be a person running from the snowman, and the uncle would chase after them. The next day, the grandma would be telling the children how Krampus works. The aunt would begin looking for her dead kid's presents before hearing one of the presents playing music.
Oh, yes. And then we get to the best fight scene.
And they're upstairs at this point.
They are in the attic.
This is when the movie really ramps up.
Well, no, this is the fake out part. This is when she starts opening the presents, but is stopped by the mom.
Oh, yes.
And while all this is happening, Max would be spotting Krampus out of his window. And when he looks back, Krampus obviously is gone. And the remaining 2 cousins would be upstairs trying to find a bathroom.
Yes, everybody went to sleep again.
Yes.
But the fire was kept too. They went upstairs and they heard some noises coming from the presents.
And they were calling their names.
They were
It
calling
sounded
their
like
names.
their mother.
I thought it sounded like Howie.
Oh no, it was the dead girl.
Yeah.
The daughter.
Oh, yes, it
Beckoning
was.
them upstairs.
And then they were like, oh, well, you scared the crap out of all of us. Why are you hiding up here?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she wasn't.
She was not.
She's hiding in the ground now.
So, obviously, the kids are, screaming, and the mom just picks up a fire axe and is like, here's Johnny. She doesn't say that.
No.
But it would have been a great callback if she did.
Well, but her name's not Johnny.
Here's Claire. So the adults would obviously split in half, with half going to find the kids and half staying downstairs. And there would be sounds heard in the kitchen, which forces the uncle who's downstairs to investigate. And at the same time, we're cutting back and forth between upstairs and downstairs, where upstairs the attic would be completely barren as the aunt finds the presents unwrapped from the inside out.
Like mangled.
Yes. And there would be a loud bang that scares everybody. While downstairs, the uncle would hear the gingerbread men in the pantry. The adults upstairs would eventually find this giant Jack-in-the-Box just eating the cousin.
Oh
I love that.
One of
It
them.
was it was weird.
It is my favorite, monster. in the
Yes.
movie. He is everything, and I love him.
Yep, and while this is happening downstairs, the uncle would be attacked by the gingerbread men. So upstairs, they would also the Jack in the Box would also bring a tree angel and a teddy bear to attack them.
The tree angel was flying and had like scissor hands.
Yeah, and they're just beating up all the adults that are upstairs. While downstairs, the competent uncle is successfully shooting the gingerbread
He's
man.
strapped. He's got that pump 40.
He did almost get hit with a knife or two, though.
Yes, but the one surviving gingerbread man would begin doing ninjutsu, dodging the bullets. Shotgun bullets.
Indiana Jones style.
Yeah, shotgun bullets, and he's just sliding between the BBs. It's awesome.
And then up comes Mr. Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide,
Yep.
Mr. 305.
Yes, and the Pitbull would eat the gingerbread man. And the aunt would, and then upstairs, the aunt would see the last cousin is still alive, and get this jolt of I need to survive, throwing the teddy bear downstairs, and then she'd go and destroy the robot with an axe, and then scare off the Jack in the Box with the same axe.
Mm-hmm. While all of this is happening, the other mother is being hung by the angel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The entire time that she's fighting for her kid, she's just being strangled to death, hanging from the rafters.
Yep. And so they would all run downstairs, hearing a giant screech from the roof. And the uncle, when they go downstairs and they get with everybody else, the uncle would just go, "I just got my ass kicked by a bunch of Christmas cookies."
Yeah.
He
And so
did.
Yep. And so needing a way to get the Jack in the Box out of the vents, they do the only smart thing and send the dog up there to kill it, which it does. It sent the Jack in the Box slamming through the ceiling. The angel would also come flying through as the teddy bear crawls up the couch.
And then the angel was trying to get some action.
It was. But Dorothy would shoot both the teddy bear and the angel, and then would go to kill the Jack in the Box as Krampus and his minions burst through the windows and steal Dorothy, the second funniest character, and the baby. They kill the baby.
Why wouldn't you?
Oh, and then, of course, Dorothy goes, "See you in hell," and then they literally play a Looney Tunes sound. They play the Looney Tunes sound as they yank her out the window.
Everybody realizes it's going to crap, and then the fire starts to go out. So then, little old grandma over here is like, "I need to stay and take care of the fire."
Yes.
Which was so sad.
Because they've just formulated a plan to go back to the work. Was it the Humvee? Or there was the snowplow.
The Humvee is destroyed.
Oh yeah, the Humvee's gone. They're trying to go back because they saw it had its keys in it and it could still run. So they're going to try and make a break for it because they had nothing else to do. It was essentially the go for broke.
And Omi, being the nice grandmother that she is, lets everyone else leave and locks herself in the house.
Yep.
As Krampus, with his dumpy, comes in and looks at her lovingly.
Yes. Throughout this entire time, he's playing Christmas music, by the way,
Yeah.
being all quirky for his loved ones.
And for a second, he looks like he's just going to be like, "Ayo, what's up, Grandma?" And then he murders her.
Yeah, it is straight up just Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader, but Christmas style.
Yeah.
So Krampus would crack the wall going down the chimney because he's too swole.
Yeah.
And Krampus would French kiss the grandma. Genuinely French kiss her while caressing her face.
Yes.
And he kills the grandma by just opening his bag, and she gets nut cracked and dies.
I said put her in the forever sack.
Well, there was just a bunch of like little murder toys in there.
All I remembered was the nutcracker, apparently.
No, they had like other little characters, but like they all just murdered her.
Yeah. So the rest of the family would hear the snow monster, which attacked the uncle earlier, and the dad steps in to shoot it. He would send everyone away to the snowplow as he stayed to fend off the monsters.
Dies the American way with an R8 in his hand, just shooting people. Bang, bang, he misses every shot.
Literally.
Bang, bang.
He became a stormtrooper in that moment.
Yes, he would obviously run out of bullets and be dragged under the snow. And the snow monster would make its way to the aunt and the mom, killing them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Max and his last remaining cousin would be the only ones left, desperately trying to start the snowplow, as Krampus's minions kidnapped the cousin.
Mm-hmm.
They literally broke in the windows, opened the door, and just kidnapped her.
And they tried kidnapping Max, but as we know from the start of the movie, Max is an MMA master and literally beats the ever-living crap out of Krampus's minion before the snow monster shows that those teeth are rated E for everyone, killing one of Krampus's minions.
Yeah. But then, after that, it literally just disappears.
Yeah.
Max ends up walking through the snow perfectly fine.
Oh yeah. Because it knows it's going to get beat up. Max is a goddamn champ.
Yeah. He's got that moves, you know.
Moves like Jagger, one might say.
Yeah.
So, Max and Krampus would then come face to face as Krampus would give Max a bell, leaving Max as the new reminder like he left his grandma. Max would desperately walk aimlessly through the snow as he hears minions laughing. He would see Krampus' sleigh and the minions messing with his cousin.
Also, like chanting over the portal to hell.
Yeah, there is in fact the portal to hell there. So Max would call Krampus over, recalling his wish, and throwing the bell at Krampus like a champ.
He really gave zero craps about what happened.
Yes. The world would just begin to shake as the portal to hell just continues to grow. And Krampus and Max would just stare at each other from each side of the portal. And then Max would raise a stick to Krampus, thinking he's gonna kill this ageless demon with a random stick he found on the ground. Which is just so dumb, and I love it.
Yeah.
Because that's what a kid's gonna do.
Yeah, they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Also, Krampus got them tickle fingers.
He does have tickle fingers.
I didn't mention this earlier, but he really has them tickle fingers, and a lot of the time he'll just be doing this too.
And then he reaches into his sack or wherever, and he pulls out another bell to give to the kid as another reminder. He's gonna leave this kid alive because of what he did. And then the kid, out of some random last hope, throws down the bell and says, "Give me my family back."
Yep. So Max does try to sacrifice himself to save his family, but Krampus just laughs at him, throwing his cousin in the portal anyway, and then also throwing Max in there. But Max would apologize before being thrown in. But you know what?
It don't matter.
It don't matter, because while he does awaken in his bed, thinking this is all a dream, going downstairs, being with his family, everybody's cheerful, and the spirit of Christmas is now alive.
The cousins aren't at each other's throats.
They find the
bell in a present. It's his only present.
And they all know
Yes.
what happened.
Yes. Everybody remembers it at that moment. And we would zoom out to see that they are now in a snow globe, stuck in limbo forever.
In Krampus's little apartment.
Yes, and then we
get the worst, cheapest
P&G's jump scare of the century.
Five Nights at Freddy's 1 jump scares. In a movie.
Literally just comes out, shakes like 2 pictures, and then leaves. It's a blackout. It's amazing. I love it.
So let's get to our rankings here.
Try to finish this
today. My ranking, costuming and props, 10 out of 10. Amazing. Acting, 9 out of 10. Best we've had so far. Visual effects, 8 out of 10. Atmosphere, 8 out of 10. Christmas is always a great time to have a horror movie. Scare factor, 3 out of 10. It wasn't really scary. It just, Krampus is like the only reason it gets even a 3 out of 10. It's more funny than scary. So that gives my total rating a 38 out of 50 for a star rating of 3.8 out of 5.
Joe, you want to go next?
Stole that by idea.
I'll go next then. I gave it costume and props an 8. It was really good. Could have been a little better. They never changed their clothes between day to day. And I understand like the relatives maybe not, but like the people who live there gonna get into something else. What was the next one? I wrote these out of order.
Oh, the next one is acting.
I gave acting a 9 on 10. It was all around pretty good. There were a few times where they were that scared for how they should be, like when the child's being murdered.
Visual effects.
I gave visual effects 10 on 10. Beautiful. The monsters were great.
Atmosphere.
Atmosphere 9 on 10. Again, Christmas is a good time to do a movie. And it was very, like, the town looked very empty when people went out, and I thought that was nice, because, like, that's what they were trying to do. And I gave the scare factor 3 on 10. It's more spooky than anything. It's not really super scary.
So then we get to my ratings. Now, my ratings are completely unbiased, and I think for myself. So, costuming and props, 9.5 out of 10. I mean, there wasn't really much you could do against it. Most of it was just visual effects. But the costuming and props that they did have, bueno. Their acting, 9 out of 10. There were some pretty bad slip-ups sometimes, but most of the movie was very good and continues. What? Visual effects, 10 out of 10. The only thing I probably might deduct from this was the last jump scare, but every other thing
That was more fun.
was completely great. It was amazing. Scare factor, 6 out of 10. There was some stupid little jump scare. I can't even remember what it was.
The
Was it
cheap
the
jump scare at the
gingerbread
end made
No,
you
it
shit
wasn't.
yourself.
It wasn't at the end. It was
No,
in the middle
no,
of the
you
movie.
got scared by
was
the
it-
ending jump scare, Josiah.
Oh
You got
yes,
very scared.
dude! I knew it was coming. I'm like, they're gonna close it with a scare, and then it's the same thing that happened to me in the Five Nights at Freddy's movie with the little balloon boy. If you've ever seen that,
jumped so hard.
and 2 of the 3 times he showed up, it was horrible.
You almost jumped out of the couch.
I'm a sucker for those little tiny jump scares. So yeah, that was my thing.
All right. So that brings our total movie rating to 122.5 out of 150, for an average rating of 40.83 out of 50, and a star rating of 4.1 out of 5.
Good movie.
Making this our second highest rated movie.
What was our first?
The Ritual.
I didn't even watch that one.
Yeah.
Well, we liked it.
That was a good movie. I like that movie.
Probably one of our best skits too.
Tune in 4 weeks, 3 weeks.
100
sometime-
million years from now.
Sometime soon for our next movie, which we will decide.